Welcome to the High Bar, your weekly watering hole for lighthearted conversation with people who care about culture that matters. I'm Warren Etheridge, your host and barkeep. I promise never to cut anyone off while encouraging all to think responsibly. Today, join me and my guest and good friend Alexis Chamow as we discussed postpartum identity. Accustomed to that, aren't you? People will tell you that parenting is the hardest job they have ever had, but also the most rewarding. But what happens to those individuals and their personalities? I am joined by my good friend, theater director, director of education, Alexis. I'm not even going to say your last name now.
That's fine.
Just Alexis.
Yeah.
That's who you are. You're like Madonna at this point.
Right.
Welcome.
Or Jackie.
That's right.
Remember her?
I do remember Jackie.
Yeah.
Now you are a parent at this
I
point, and maybe going for two. It's going to be a double header there at the Alexis household.
That's true.
And have you changed? You've changed? You
Yeah.
have changed.
Yeah. I think, implicitly.
Yeah. But we don't identify you just as a mom. You still want to be somebody.
Right. Well, wait. you can't say it like that.
I'm setting you up.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think that one of the complications of becoming a parent and already having a really strong identity is that you have to sort of figure out what being a parent means to who you currently are. Mm-hmm. Inevitably, it's going to change who you currently are, and how much of you is like waiting for that moment when you become a parent and sort of get to be defined by somebody else a little bit and have this responsibility that's suddenly very like real and tangible and about like another person's life as opposed to just what am I going to do with my own. Mm-hmm. And then the part of you that says like I have these goals and I have these things that I've already been working toward that are totally separate from anybody else, and do I stay on track with that?
Right, because it's important, because before you were a mom,
right,
and maybe a little bit before that, you were an actress, which is scientifically proven to be the most narcissistic profession out there. So it's all about you. It's all about you, and you pursued that to a great degree, and to the strain of relationships and to many things.
Right.
It was all about you.
Right.
And now it's not all about you.
Right. Well, and to be fair, I sort of... To be fair, I stopped acting before becoming a mom for exactly that reason. That one of the things that makes me a good director made me a really bad actor, which was that, as an actor, your job is like, oh, what's going on? What's my world, and how am I, and who am I, and all that. And then the director sort of sees the big picture and tries to put all the pieces together. And so in the actor body, I was sort of like, hey, we're in the woods, you gotta be quiet, which was like not my job to tell someone else, that kind of thing. So it would be like, I mean, we weren't really in the woods, but
we're pretending.
We were pretending. We were
it's an illusion.
Yeah. So, a lot of that was like, suddenly I was like, God, I'm so frustrated all the time, acting. And so then it was like, well, that's because I'm better suited to be seeing the big picture. So I had kind of made that personal movement. And this is kind of what I think parenting does, is like, people are always like, the whole thing of follow your dreams and follow your bliss and do what you love. It's like, that's true, but it's also like those things change. And I think to a certain degree, you're made to believe that like, if you don't do that thing that you said you wanted to do so badly when you were 16 or 21 or 25 even.
Then you're a liar.
Well, or you're like giving up your dream.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And in reality, like the dream changes because you become a different person. So I stopped doing the acting, and then I started doing these other things, and that led more into teaching. So I teach at college now, and it led into more big picture stuff for me, which becoming a mom, becoming a parent, actually helped with, because there is everything becomes, on the one hand, it becomes big picture, and on the other hand, it all becomes sort of minutia as well, which, you're a dad.
Yeah, I do know.
But the big picture part of directing and teaching, for me, also fed into the big picture part of being a mom. And what I had a hard time with frequently, or what I have a hard time with, is the minutia, which is the same thing that happened when I was acting. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is too small. Like, I don't want to be changing diapers all day and
Or
packing
feeding the kid.
snacks, feeding. What's that about?
So when you
Going
say
to bed.
the big picture is what I'm saving for college, but I don't know if they've eaten in 3 days. What
No,
are you talking about?
the big picture is like, you know, your family. Like, you imagine, you know, like the OB said to me, are you guys thinking about, you know, do you want to have a kid? And I was like, I sort of want to like be 50 with a teenager, but I don't really want to deal with an infant. Like, that seemed to be too much. I didn't want to give up that much time, you know?
So you just looking forward to the empty nest. You want to go
Well,
straight
yeah,
from
I
the-
mean, we did, Paul was like, he did the math. He was like, you know, 56. And I was like, what's that? And he's like, when they'll be out of the house. I was like, we haven't even had them yet.
Right.
And you're calculating when they'll be out of the house. But, okay, so it's supposed to be about how you identify yourself after having a kid.
Because I meet those people, those parents, who freak me out on some level, like, I am Wendell's mother. I am Wendell's mother.
Right.
And that's the only way that you can barely find out the first name of the person because they are just Ava's classmate's parent.
Well, okay, so then let me ask you a question. So how much of you and your identity, because you've always been really driven, you've always been really like, you know, the film world, some aspect of it, you've always been really saturated in. And then here comes this baby, and like, what does that do to you?
Was it due to me?
Yeah.
I think it was great. It made me a better person. I've learned a lot about myself, but it hasn't really changed my approach to what I want to do.
But what about
It's just enriched it and made me more cognizant of why I want to do the things I want to do.
What, like what? What do you mean?
I mean, it forces me to cut out some of the nonsense, because before I was sort of a workaholic and I would do just about anything that came down the pike, because if anybody hired me for something or suggested they wanted me to do something that seemed like great approval.
Right.
But now I actually look at, is this what I really want to do? Does this fit in what I want to do? Because my time with my daughter is precious when I have it.
Right. No, that's true. You become a lot more calculating, I think, with your time, and probably a lot more efficient too.
A lot more efficient.
Yeah.
That's right.
So what about, are you ever in a situation where you're Ava's dad? And that's it? Like, nobody sort of has a sense of you beyond being Ava's dad?
Oh, certainly. My celebrity does not precede me, strangely enough.
Not like in the good old days.
No, but I find it weird when people do address you that, oh, you're Ava's dad. And it's like, yes, I'm Ava's dad. My name is Warren.
And a bunch of other things.
Right, and I do other things, too. That does seem significant to me.
So the people that are, because this is, I was mentioning this, that I have some, and maybe it's more with women than with men, I don't know, but I have some girlfriends who, you know, even in like their early 20s, it was sort of like they were kind of gearing up to be wives and to be, even in this very modern age, like to be wives and to be mothers, and that's really what they wanted to do.
Right.
And I found myself, you know, inadvertently judgmental of that, being like, you know, but who are you aside from your kid that you don't even have yet? But the reality of them is that they actually honored motherhood in a way that I kind of said I did, but didn't really. Do you know what I mean? Like, for them, it was important enough that, like, this is worth spending all of your time and putting all of your energy into. And so part of me is like, yeah, but you need to know who you are outside of that. Like, you don't have a kid in order to define yourself. But the people who do that, I don't know if, like, they're harming their kids by being too obsessed with them, or if they're well adjusted and they're doing that. A little bit of me is sort of, not envious, but a little bit of me is like more appreciative and respectful than I might have been before, because I go, you know, I appreciate the fact that you're not torn between these kind of, you know, more tangible sort of career nebulous things that, you know, you might want to pull and like cultivating this other life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I do think that ultimately is more important.
Do you appreciate that, or you're jealous of that?
No, I'm not jealous. I'm not jealous. I mean, well, if you define, like, if you say envy, when you envy something, it's like you appreciate it and you kind of wish you could do it, but you don't want to, like, take it away from someone else. But jealousy is like, I want that,
Well,
and I want you
it's
to
not
not
a
have
zero-sum
it.
game, but would
Well,
you
no,
like the same thing?
What?
Would you like to be able to do the same thing, not care about the career beyond that, not career about the goals beyond being a parent?
No, I wouldn't. Not for me. I mean, I'm sort of not built that way. But for the people who, like, here's an example. I have a girlfriend who, she and her husband both grew up in small towns, and now they live on, you know, a farm up in Sumas, off the Mount Baker Highway in northern Washington.
Tell us more specifically.
Yeah.
Latitude and longitude.
Well, I don't want you to think I'm making it up. So they're about to have their third kid, and Krista, like, since we were cocktail waitresses together at Benjamin's in 1997. We used to be on Lake Union. Yeah.
Specifically, where on Lake Union? Go.
It's
Okay.
Schwartz Brothers Restaurant.
Okay.
They also
They're
have
still
the
around.
family of Chandlers. And, no.
Schwartz Brothers. And now I know how you got in. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, thank you. So anyway, they have always wanted. She's always wanted to have a family, and like she had her family, and she is a dental hygienist because she can make enough money in 2 or 3 days of work to be able to be with her kids. She doesn't, she doesn't have a passion for dental hygiene, but like it works for the life that she wants to have with her kids. So, like everything has sort of been created in her life to make a family the most reasonable, like the family existence the most reasonable it can be. I have not done that at all. And so my like way of dealing with having a kid a lot of time is like I'm butting up against things, trying to work out schedule and trying to work out this and work out. And I look at her and it's like it's a simpler, and more kind of basic way of being, because she didn't pretend to have these ambitions for other things. She wanted to be a mom and have a family and, be on a farm and focus on that.
But you're not pretending. You actually do want to be other things.
Right.
You do want to be director of education. You do want to change the world. You do want to help people. You do want to like teach people the glory of art and what it can do to make them better folks.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
And is that a form of your parenting as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I say I want my kid to see me working, And to me, that's important. But it's not to diminish the fact that, like, people who are just mothers are also working. And maybe they're more selfless than I am. Because, yes, I say, I want her to see me working. I want you to see, I don't want it to be, well, daddy's work and mommy's hang out, Like, that's not okay with me. I want her to see me, driven and doing those things.
So what if Paul stayed at home?
Well, he would love to do that. He would love to stay at home. Well, what about that? I mean,
would that be okay? Would you be okay
fine.
for her to see that, dad stay at home and mom works her?
Yeah, because I think it would be, true. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that he would, like, if he genuinely, like, okay, so I have these things that I'm fired up about. And right now, career-wise, he doesn't have these, like, high career ambitions. Right. So it's like, if what you want to do is be home with your kid, then I say, God bless. Like, great. Then I don't have to worry about childcare. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I don't know. Again, like, I feel like it's selfish to a certain degree. But I also see, and this is probably where part of it comes from, is I see, friends, parents, who then when the kids, our generation, like when they leave and they go, I have one girlfriend who grew up in Louisiana. Her mom used to teach English at a university, and then she quit so she could stay home, raise the kids, which is great, except Elia moves to Italy and her sister moves to DC, and then her mom is like, has no idea who she is anymore, because 20 years later, all of her energies have gone into being a mom. And that I find kind of terrifying. Do you know what I mean? The prospect that, like, if you do set everything up to be this person that's a phenomenal caretaker, then what do you do when you've taken such good care that they go off on their own and
Become a director of education?
become a director of education?